This video will demonstrate the interview that we can give to our ancestors before we take them to the temple. I did a descendancy view search for ancestors who might need ordinances and found Laura Bell and Arthur Carr Liniger, who appear to need ordinances according to having green temples over here. So I clicked on Arthur's name and his card came up, and you can see that he needs most of his ordinances. So I went ahead and opened his person page, and when I went to his person page, I could have immediately taken him to the temple. Everything is set up so that he can be taken as is, but instead I wanted to take a moment and interview him. So I returned to his person page, looked over his vital information, and I noticed that the birthplace isn't accurate, and you'll even notice there's a data problem that says that the birthplace isn't standardized. I don't have a death place, and as I go on down to the family, I don't have any parents or any children, and I don't have a marriage event. Additionally, I don't have any sources to prove any of the information that I do have. So I would like to take a little bit of time to try to beef up the knowledge that I have of Arthur before I take him to the temple. The first thing that I would want to do is to add the record hints, which are attached to the right over here under the Research Help section. Record hints are sources that the computer for the church have found, and they're 97% likely to be an actual match to the individual that they're attached to. That doesn't mean that they're always right, but they usually are. And they're so easy to attach because of the source linker tool that the church has provided. So to add these record hints, I'm going to quickly click on Arthur's name to the right of the blue icon for the World War I draft registration. I can look it over in the box that opens, or I can go ahead and just automatically click Review and Attach and look at it as the record is laid out on the left side and my information is laid out on the right side. So what I have is the exact same name and the exact same birth date. I didn't pick up my birthplace here, unfortunately. I didn't have his military draft information or his residence at that time, so I click the add and send that over to my information. And in the reason to attach the source box, I'm just going to type verifies birth information, and then I will attach it. That's how easy it is to attach a record hint to our people. I go back to his person page by clicking his blue name in the top left corner. And I'll just go ahead and quickly attach these other record hints that are here. There's a Find a Grave record that is here. I click that, and this Find a Grave record. Find a Grave is a source of compiled information. Other people have placed it on there. It's not a primary source such as a death record or a birth record, but a lot of times it has great information, and it also oftentimes has pictures of tombstones, and so it can be a great help in finding information about our deceased ancestors. In this instance, it has the birth date, the year being the same, and the death year being the same, and it gives me the burial place. And so I go ahead and add that over to my side, and this time I'm going to type in verifies birth and burial information. I'll just go ahead and put birth and death information. And then I click attach. I come back to Arthur's person page, and you'll notice I've now run out of record hints over here. I have yet to standardize the birthplace. I do have in this draft registration record a statement that he was born on the 23rd of May 1892, but I don't have any birth information. And the same will be true of the Find a Grave source. It gives me where he was buried, and it gives me his birth date, but it doesn't give me his birthplace. And so I'm still left with the vague information that I have there. So my other hope is to go to one of these partner sites or to Family Search itself and see if there's other records that are there. I'm going to click on Ancestry. When Ancestry opens up, it uses the information that I have about Arthur and conducts searches of its records. Ancestry has more records than Family Search does, and so I've already attached a Find a Grave source for Arthur, and as I scroll down, this one will be interesting because his wife is named Laura Bell, and so this very likely is his source. But I find myself intrigued with this Pennsylvania death certificate, and so I click on it, and I see that I've got Arthur Carr Liniger and the 23rd of May 1892, which is his birth date, 23rd of May 1892. And so I've now got a birthplace, and I've got a death place and a death date that will be the same. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this record. I highlight the information that I have, and then I click on Record Seek in the top right corner to the right of my address bar, and it says, do you want to create a source, and in which place do you want to create it? I say I want to create it in Family Search, and then it gives me a preview of the source I'll be creating. The information that I highlighted appears here in these notes. If I hadn't highlighted that information, I would still have the rest of this source. I just wouldn't have it, the information that's on it is easily accessible. So I go ahead and click Next. I have to go back and get Arthur's number, and I come back, and in the search for person by ID I paste his number, and I click Next, and it says you're going to attach this source to Arthur Carr Liniger. I then say the reason that I want to, and it is that it verifies birth and death information. Now, when I'm attaching a source with Record Seek, I need to remember to tag it to the information that it verifies, and so it verifies the birth, the death, and I go ahead and click Close, and now that source will be not just at the bottom of the page, but with those other details as well. I click Create and Attach, and the source has now been created. I'm going to go back to Arthur's page and refresh it. Arthur started this process with no sources, and now you'll notice that he has three: the two record hints that I attached and the death certificate that I just attached. Now on that death certificate I had that he was born in Bittinger, Maryland. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on birth, and I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to come here and get rid of the fact that he lived at some point in his life in Pennsylvania and put Bittinger, Maryland. And the computer doesn't show a Bittinger. I'll see if I spelled that right. There were two T's in it. Well, maybe that will make a difference in the computer being able to find it. Yes, Bittinger, Garrett, Maryland, United States. I go ahead and click that, and now I have an accurate birthplace and birth date, and I say verified on death record. And then I click Save. Now you'll notice, because I did that, data problem that was on the top right has disappeared as well. I now need to put in the death place, and I come back down here and I have the death place being Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so I click on it, I click edit, I come here and say Pittsburgh, and the computer offers the rest to me. I go ahead and say verified on death certificate, and then save it. So now at this point I have added and completed and corrected the vital information about him. You'll notice that I now have more record hints over here than I had before. Apparently some of the information I added has triggered the computer's ability to find more record hints. So one that's intriguing is this 1920 census record. Let's go ahead and attach it real quickly. When I come down and review and attach, what I will get in a census record, you have families, and so Arthur is here. It says he was born in 1893. We're not worried when a census record is off by a year, but that really does verify his birth, and it tells us where he lived in 1920, the information that I didn't have before there. I click in here and say verifies birth and family relations, and then click attach. So the census record verified that. Now I'm going to go ahead and add his wife. She lived during that time. I don't have to retype it, and it stays, and that is what it verifies, her birth and her family relations. So I attach that. Now we didn't have their children, so I'm going to add these 3 children that they had, and you'll notice that we've got Maryland, and they, by being born in 1916, I'm not sure if they're still alive or not, so I'll say that they're living, and I'll create a new person. I'll bring that over. I've now added a child. I'll add another child, living. I just like to dress up while I'm doing it. And go ahead and create the new person. And one more to add. I go ahead and mark living, create the new person. That's really quite amazing if you think about it, that in that length of time I've added 3 children to their marriage and added a source to 5 people. So even though that wasn't super quick, it was amazingly fast in terms of what we just accomplished. If you'll look down now when the person page opens up, I now have Arthur and Laura Bell with 3 children. Now there's something that I want to mention. A lot of times we'll put sources on and not recognize all the information that's available. So let me show you what I mean by that. In this death certificate, if I go ahead and open it up, you'll notice that down here on the indexed information, I could click on the actual death certificate and there might be more information still. You should be aware that the church is indexing less information on records and providing the image of the record so that we can now obtain access to records, but know that there's a lot of information that has yet to be indexed, and we have to go on to the actual image and find it. In this instance, I don't have to do that, but I do see that I have a father and a mother. So Louis Liniger and Leah Harmon, I need to remember those. So I'll come back to Arthur, and I'll come up here and add a parent. And the father's name is Louis Liniger, and he's a male, and he is deceased. I don't know his birth date or his birthplace. I'll click next, and then the computer will go and look and see if it can find anybody that might match my person. You'll see that I don't, as I look down these people, I don't have enough information about him to be able to determine whether or not he is my person. I would like to see a Leah. If I can find a Leah here as a spouse, I might have the confidence to go ahead and say that these people are in the record. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and have to create a new person. And I may be creating a duplicate. He may already be in the system somewhere, but I just don't know because I don't have enough information about him. So at this point, I've got to go ahead and say I'm going to create a new person named Louis Liniger. And then I now am going to add the spouse. I keep forgetting her name, Leah Harmon. And she's a female, she's deceased. And I go ahead and do next. And so Leah, again, I just don't know enough about her. I'm going to go looking through here real quickly to see if there's a spouse that matches my spouse, the Liniger. And it doesn't look like I have that. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new person there. So I now have added parents where before I didn't know who the parents were. Rather than bore you, I just did a lot of work off camera and went to Lewis's person page and looked for some sources for him and was able to find a 1910 census record that had Lewis and Leah and Clarabelle and Arthur on it. And I was confident that they were the same family, and as a result was able to add the other kids that were on that record. And so I have now added a lot of siblings to Arthur. So when we began, we had no children for Arthur, no parents for Arthur, and no siblings for Arthur. At this point, we've added quite a bit. Now, the thing that could be sort of sad is that I can't take these people to the temple, even though Lewis needs his ordinances, Leah needs her ordinances, and is ready to go. Each one of these needs and is ready to go. I've got the entire family ready, but you'll notice if I come up and show you my relationship to Arthur, he is the husband of my relationship. But if I go to any of these others, Lewis for instance, I open him and I view my relationship, it says no relationship found because he's the father of a husband of a relation of mine. The same will hold true with all of these other children of Lewis's. The only one that I'm related to is Arthur because he married my relation. So you can ask yourself, well, why did I bother to put all of this on there? But in essence, I have planted a little delightful bomb for somebody who comes along and is related to Lewis and Leah. I've now prepared them to be able to find 10 people to take to the temple that with ease that they wouldn't have been able to take before. All that I'm going to be able to take at this instance is Arthur and be able to seal him to his wife as well. But with the interview that I did, a great deal of good was done. His information was completed, his family was completed, sources were added that proved the information. I'm going to now quickly click and check for possible duplicates. None are found. And so what I can do is scroll to the top of the page, click the Ordinances tab, and request the ordinances and follow the steps to be able to print the card to take Arthur to the temple and to seal him to his wife.